morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where it's Friday, happy Friday, and today I have a short but sweet episode for you. Short because I got off to a late start filming today and I'm trying to get this up somewhat close to the morning, but sweet because all three news stories and the viewer question are about really fun, exciting topics that are all near and dear to our movie-going hearts. So it'll give you plenty to mull over this weekend and also to discuss with your friends and family. So the first story of the day is actually a rumor, which I hope is not true. Or at the very least, when this offer is made to Jason Statham, I hope his management team and he himself are smart enough to turn it down. So what's the rumored offer? Well, it would seem that Marvel Studios is keen on having Jason Statham play Bullseye in Daredevil Season 2 on Netflix. Now, I'm sure right now many of you are already typing, but Grace, that sounds like a fantastic idea. And I think for Marvel Studios, it is a fantastic idea. And a few months ago, it would have been a fantastic idea for Jason Statham, who was starring in largely direct-to-video action films that nobody was paying any attention to and really seemed like they were coming out of like an assembly line at this point. But a lot has happened in a few months, mere months. And that is, of course, the one-two punch that is Furious 7, now one of the most successful movies of all time, with a very sweet role for Jason Statham, which he does very nicely in. But then, of course, there's a little movie opening today called Spy. And I think that this movie is going to change Jason Statham's career. I think people are going to see him in a whole new light after they see him in Spy opposite Melissa McCarthy, where, despite a very strong cast, he pretty much steals the movie. I mean, this is going to be potentially a career change for him along the lines of like Arnold Schwarzenegger going funny, The Rock going funny, Robert De Niro going funny. Monday morning, if Spy does as well at the box office as I suspect it will, I think Jason Statham will be fielding plenty of offers. Maybe that's why this rumor has surfaced. Maybe Marvel Studios is trying to get in there before he gets his post-Spy offers and maybe trick him into signing. Now still, I'm sure some of you feel that it would still be a great situation for him to be Bullseye on Daredevil Season 2. But let me explain why I don't think that. I think that while we do have a really great situation where there are wonderful projects on TV right now, or on the small screen, the digital screen, basically not the movie screen, you don't see a lot of really talented actors who are at the peak of their careers, or where everything's going really well, going to TV. Actors go to a different size screen to re-energize their careers, to either have the audience see them in a different light, to remind the audience that they're still there, to get interest, to be cool again, right? I'm so out, I'm cool again. Kind of like what Matthew McConaughey did, Billy Bob Thornton. That's why you go to TV. And again, Jason Statham could have used the TV gig mere months ago when he was stuck in his almost direct-to-video rut. It's the same reason you're seeing Dwayne Johnson go to TV with HBO, because he was having a hard time. Would he have gone to TV after San Andreas is open? I doubt it. Although sometimes I doubt the savviness of The Rock's management team. But that's a whole nother conversation. But when you're on the top, and when the momentum is in your favor, you stay on the big screen, because that's where the more money is, unless you're involved in the back end on TV. Then you can become quite lucrative. Nobody is wealthier than the star of a TV sitcom that goes into syndication. Syndication is a gold mine. So if you're an actor or working in any part of the business and you want to go into TV, go into a sitcom that's going to be syndicated, because you will make money forever. Every time a television show airs, like in reruns, there's a check going to the higher-ups involved in the show in front of and behind the camera. But anyway, back to our conversation about Jason Statham. I promised you a short and sweet episode. I often don't deliver when I say it's going to be short. Let's see if I can today. But anyway, so I think that Jason Statham needs to try and see what he can do in movies. He owes it to himself. He owes it to us, who are gonna. I'm telling you, your Jason Statham fandom will be renewed once you see Spy. So I think that it would be a step back for him to go to Daredevil. And I don't think that Daredevil needs him. Also, I think Marvel needs to make up their mind whether or not this is a television-level property or not, because Charlie Cox does not appear to be in Civil War, even though he lobbied quite strong for a cameo in it. But I think that if they start casting movie-level actors, or are they trying to say they don't think Jason Statham is a movie-level actor, in these Netflix shows, And that's another thing. I mean, there are no movie actors alongside Jason Statham there. He'd be the biggest name there, and I think he needs to kind of like ride some other people's coattails for a little bit to get himself to the next level, like he's doing with Melissa McCarthy and Jude Law in Spy. I think he needs, and Furious 7. I think Jason Statham needs to take a break from being the star because that didn't work out so well for him, right? So I think that would be the same situation. And also, is Bullseye now going to be British? Because I don't think Jason Statham, I love the guy, I talked to him on the red carpet on Monday, but I don't think that he has the range to do an American accent. But anyway, I think it wouldn't be great for the show in the long run, and I think it wouldn't be great for Jason Statham. So I hope this doesn't happen. I am very excited about Daredevil Season 2. Marvel knows they have a hot property. Elektra is also rumored to make her debut. You know, of course, there was that Easter egg, that hint dropped about her, that Greek girl that Foggy was asking or referring to when talking to Matt Murdock in the flashback sequence, I believe. But still, very, very interesting to see how this show's second season goes now that Marvel knows they have a big hit on their hands and everybody's very interested in it. But I'm also, the last thing I want to say about Daredevil is that I'm very curious as to whether or not Marvel's going to end up shooting itself in the foot because they are adding to the momentum that's taking comic book properties into darker territory. And DC is going to make a major push in that direction as well when their movies start debuting next year. And the Netflix series are dogpiling onto that as well, and I think it's going to upset the balance as to what audiences are looking for. And I think Marvel could find its movies in a very difficult position, being still bright and cheery, when you know, the trend goes dark. So we'll see. But at least they have the Netflix series, and so they won't totally be out of the game. All right, so that's the first story of the day. Now, the second story of the day, I got a lot of requests to talk about this, and that's the news, the announcement that Tangled is getting a sequel, kind of. It's getting a TV series, which will debut on the Disney Channel in 2017. But here are the two biggest questions about it that arose when this was announced, not yesterday, but the day before. One, will it be 2D animation? Because the picture that Disney released seems to be a 2D picture. So that's very exciting right there by itself. Then also the other thing is that in the promotional picture here, Rapunzel has her long blonde hair. But isn't she supposed to be a spunky brunette now with short brown hair? It's very interesting to decide when this might be taking place, right? The synopsis says that before she can take her place in the royal family, she has to learn more about, you know, where she's from and the citizens and just life in general because, of course, she's been locked in a tower her entire life. So I think that's actually a very good setup for an all-ages show, right? It gives Rapunzel a great excuse to explore that's organic to her character, but allows the show to do the type of exploring and teaching that such a show is supposed to do as children's entertainment. But I would also like to say that I think Disney has an excellent track record with taking some of its animated films and making them into animated series. There's, of course, Aladdin, Tarzan, The Emperor's New Groove became The Emperor's New School. I've seen some of those, some of I haven't, but I know that they all have excellent buzz, and I think that I'm hoping that Tangled will follow in that tradition. Now, very promising is that both Mandy Moore and Zachary Levi are coming back to voice the characters for the show. So I think that's going to be great. That's going to give it a really good feel of continuity. Then also, Alan Menken and Glenn Slater, who did the music for the movie, are also coming back to provide new songs for the show. So I think that at least for the first few episodes, their pilot better be amazing, because I think people of all ages are going to watch the heck out of this. Tangled is a really fun movie. It did very well at the box office. Not well enough to warrant an actual theatrical sequel, but well enough to get a TV show. And of course, Rapunzel has become a very profitable character for Disney. So I think there are a lot of people who are going to be interested in this. I think a lot of people will be watching. So I do hope it's hand-drawn, or at least looks hand-drawn. I would be very curious. I think when you see all the merchandise for Rapunzel, she has the long blonde hair. So let's see. I can understand it from a business perspective, but let's see how Disney gets around it creatively, explaining how she gets her hair back, right? I think that'll be very interesting indeed. But then there's one other potential stumbling block, and that's the cast. Now, they have all our old favorites returning. Pascal, her chameleon, Maximus the horse, the snuggly duckling thugs. But then they're adding a new character named Cassandra, who is, quote-unquote, a tough-as-nails handmaiden who becomes Rapunzel's confidant. I have a problem with that. First of all, I think that, well, it's a double-edged sword. Like, I think it's great and important to show women having female friends and someone that, you know, they can relate to and you know, to have like a girls' discussion, right? Although it would be nice to see Rapunzel talk to her mother more, considering they haven't seen each other their entire lives, pretty much, right? That would be nice, too. But I also think that one of the great strengths of Tangled was the Flynn or Eugene and Rapunzel chemistry and dynamic. I think that was really important, and I would hate to see a third character kind of, you know, mess things up. You know, three's a crowd. And also, I hope they don't have any ridiculous subplots like, oh, does Eugene like Cassandra, or is there like a mistake? It's tough, I think. I think any guy will chime in here, but it's really hard for a guy to hang out with his girlfriend or wife, I don't know at what point in the story this is, and her best friend, right? I mean, there are some hilarious jokes about, and some pretty inappropriate ones, actually, about what it must be like for Kristoff dating Anna, considering how close Anna and Elsa are. So I think that that's kind of, they're creating the same situation here. And they already have that's a good point, they already have their strong female duo in Elsa and Anna. I don't think they need to have Rapunzel and Cassandra, right? I mean, I don't know. I would prefer Cassandra be a villain. And they're going to need some interesting characters for them to interact with. But then, of course, you know, it's not healthy for a couple to only be friends with each other and have no outside friends. But it would be kind of cool if they had, like, a male friend, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know who this is aimed at, but the Cassandra character just screams, you know, really bad Hollywood development idea, right? They're like, let's give her a best friend. And you're like, why do you always do this to every property? All right, so that's the second story of the day. I'm very curious. Do you plan to watch that? I'm going to watch it, even though I'm not the target demographic. I will certainly DVR the hell out of it. And I'm curious if you guys will also watch it and what you want to see out of the show. And also, are you disappointed that this probably means you're never going to get a Tangled movie sequel? All right, so the third story of the day is very interesting. And we just had a whole episode about Sony the other day, talking about everything going on at the studio. And I think Sony has been shaken to the core by the Sony hack and a number of not-so-great headlines that came out of the hack, and then also came out of their own, you know, just the way they do business. But I got an email yesterday from Sony inviting me to join their Real Insider Club, and I thought this was very, very interesting, so I wanted to share it with you, and I'm curious if any of you are real insiders. I'm still contemplating whether or not I want to join, because it seems like a bit of a commitment. So here's what they want you to do. They want you to fill out 5 to 10 minute surveys on upcoming movies and TV shows. And I guess the idea here is that they want to get a bead on how you feel about their upcoming properties. Because these days, obviously, as you know, being someone who watches movie news and trailers, etc. on the internet, the bulk of discussions about properties, unless it's an ongoing TV show, happens before the thing actually hits, right? So I think that that's become such an integral part of marketing a show or a movie, its image, that clearly Sony wants to get a better handle on how these images are being shaped, and maybe at a point when they can make some changes. So if you fill out this 5 to 10 minute survey, once a month there will be a sweepstakes that you'll be entered in automatically, where you'll win one of 13 Visa gift cards up to a value of $100. So I'm very curious if you think this sounds like a good idea. Basically, they want to create like an audience think tank for their properties, right? I just think it's funny that they're like, we have no idea why you think what you think. We can't find anyone savvy enough to work here, so we're just going to have like by committee. I don't know. I've had mixed feelings on it. I know that test screenings can sometimes work very well for movies, you know, where they play a movie months in advance for a test screening, and then they're like, wow, we didn't think it would go over like that. We better make some changes. So I guess this is kind of like the advertising version of that. But I just think it's a funny situation. I wonder how much power we would really have inputting our opinions in this way. But I just think it's funny to see such an obvious acknowledgement of the shift to where attention goes for entertainment properties. All right, so that's the third story of the day. And again, if you're a Sony Real Insider, share your experience down below and let us know if you've won a Visa gift card and how much it was for. And now on to the viewer question, which comes from frequent BTT viewer Georgina. I actually met Georgina at New York Comic Con one year when I was doing the Newsarama coverage. She came up to the booth, got to meet her. Thank you, Georgina. That was awesome. I always love it when I get the chance to meet BTT viewers in person. And Georgina has a question here, and she says, question. Well, what do you think is Charlize Theron's future in the Mad Max franchise? Do you think there could be a solo Furiosa movie? Also, Georgina, then she had a follow-up question, which I'll paraphrase here. She just basically wanted to know, what do you think of Charlize Theron's chances for Captain Marvel? There has been a rumor going around that she'll be Captain Marvel and Angelina Jolie will direct. I don't think Angelina Jolie would ever direct Charlize Theron in a movie. I think she'd probably, you know, rather do something not so great to herself instead of see that happen. I think that Angelina Jolie, while I do think she's talented, is very, personally driven. I think she's really interested in helping herself, helping Brad Pitt, and helping her children, right? I think that we have not really seen Charlize Theron, not Charlize Theron, Angelina Jolie, really one of those people like, say, Reese Witherspoon, who's really keen in helping other women in Hollywood, right? I think Angelina Jolie has her own little empire, and that's the way she likes it. But Charlize Theron, I think, would be a fantastic Captain Marvel, and I do wonder if she's now on Marvel's radar thanks to the Mad Max Fury Road film. I saw it again for the second time on Wednesday night. It was sold out on a Wednesday night for an R-rated movie, which I was really impressed with and I thought was very encouraging, and the movie totally held up the second time around. And you could even see a little bit more in the nuances of the performances of not just Charlize Theron, but also Tom Hardy, and also Nicholas Hoult. Everybody, just a really fantastic movie. You could watch that again and again and again. It truly is one for the ages. But I do wonder what Charlize Theron's going to get out of this. I don't know if there's going to be another Mad Max movie. We'll see. Usually when a studio is gung-ho about a sequel, they'll announce it right away. They haven't announced one yet about Mad Max Fury Road. I think they're waiting to see how the box office shakes out. As I said before, it's got to probably reach $400 million to get that sequel, or do very well during awards season and get a slew of nominations. And so they'll feel that enough has been done to get it on more people's radar, and then more people would go and see a sequel, right? So, that's the name of the game. Warner Brothers obviously would like to make great movies, but at the end of the day, they want people to pay to see those movies. So they will only make a sequel if they feel more people will pay to see said sequel, and they can make a lot of money off of it. So we'll see. The story, it ain't over yet, but it's not guaranteed either. But I don't think that there would be a Furiosa solo movie. I think part of the problem with Mad Max, which might have hurt it a little bit, is that a lot of people felt that it was a Furiosa movie already, and that really truly wasn't a Mad Max movie, even though it's called Mad Max Fury Road. And while I have no problem with that, and I think that the Mad Max character is well handled, and I think it really is a movie that they share, I think it really is both their films, I think that if I were the studio and George Miller going forward, I'd be like, let's just make a solidly Mad Max movie second time around, right? It's a shame. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. I think they ended it in a position which might not be beneficial going forward to what people might want to see. We'll see. But I think it does leave Charlize Theron's character in an interesting, difficult situation. I think what's most likely going to happen to her is she'll get a really exciting project off of this. But again, hasn't gotten it yet. And I think to some degree, people might be feeling that the reason that Mad Max doesn't have the amazing box office that one would hope right out of the gate is because of Charlize Theron, because of Tom Hardy, that these people are just not box office draws. So even though they do a phenomenal job in the movie, kind of like with Emily Blunt in Edge of Tomorrow, when you see how Into the Woods wasn't quite the phenomenal blockbuster as Disney's other fairy tale live-action movies, you start to wonder, well, is Emily Blunt box office poison? I don't envy Kevin Feige's position in trying to cast the Captain Marvel role, because I think his best choices, the people who would be the best creatively as a match with the role, are not such great choices from a business perspective. But if you get really someone who's a great choice from a business perspective, will it then hurt the movie in terms of, character appeal? The ideal situation is someone like Scarlett Johansson, who never got the chance really to operate on a big level before she joined the Marvel movies, so her box office, charisma was an unknown commodity at that point, at that level, and they created a star. So maybe they'll have to find someone in the same caliber, although I don't like the fact that pretty much all the female characters in the Marvel movies are the same age, whereas there's a lot of difference in the ages of the male characters. I'd like to see more of a variation on the female side as well, which would be why it would be so great if Charlize Theron was cast. I hope Kevin Feige just goes for it, and I think that Captain Marvel is Charlize Theron's best next bet, and I hope she lands that gig. We'll see, but I don't think she's going to get a Furiosa movie because I worry about her from a box office perspective a little bit, and also I think going forward, if this franchise is going to survive in the long run, and by that I mean Mad Max, it needs to be a squarely Mad Max film with the second entry, or at least he needs to be the solid thread, the through line, and not Charlize Theron, right? All right, so that's today's morning movie news. Thank you so much. Thank you for your question, Georgina. I'd be very curious to hear your follow-up on that, everybody's thoughts on it. Write down below what you think of Georgina's question and the three top stories. Let me know what you'd like to see covered on Monday and any questions that you might have. Once again, I'll be traveling at the beginning of July, so there'll be a whole week of viewer question morning movie news episodes which I'll be filming in advance. So please get your questions in starting now, and for a chance for one of those 18 slots. I have to do 6 episodes, pre-taped episodes, so you've never had a better chance to get your viewer question answered. All right, thanks so much for watching. Bye.